Photoshop comes with a wealth of brushes. All you have to do really is pick up the brush tool, click this button right there. And that's going to open up your brushes and your brush presets. Look at all these brushes that we have. I don't care if Photoshop came with a billion with a B brushes, there will still be a brush that you wish you had in terms of shape that you don't. For example, I create my own photo restoration brushes. Ever see a very old, compressed, faded image where the hair, typically on a woman, is so dark brown and faded there are no details in her hair? I've actually created a brush that grows hair. Something I'd really like to do in this world, to be honest with you. So I do make my own brushes. The one we'll make will be simple, but you can take what we're using here in this demonstration and carry it to wherever leap your imagination wants to go. Let's go ahead and close this out. Start by creating a new layer. You don't want to use the background for this. Click the new button. You can name it if you want, really doesn't matter. Come over here and we'll do a brush this way. Pick up your custom shape tool. Come over here, click this button. If you don't see as many shapes, you go, whoa, man, you got a lot of shapes up there. Click this button right here and go into all. Load all of them. That's what I did. Let's make a brush out of, let's use the butterfly. Select the butterfly. Come over here and click to get out of there. One other thing we want to do. There are 3 ways that we can use the shape tool. We can draw a shape layer, which actually would be acceptable. We can use and create a path, which we don't want to do, or we can just put paint on the screen. That's what we want to do. You want to click this button. There's 3. Click this button right there. That means just draw paint. On the blank layer, it's very important. Make sure that's selected. Draw your brush. I have taken scans out of magazines and made brushes out of those. You got something? Scan it. Hold the Shift key if you want it perfect. There's our brush, or at least what we think it's going to be. Do not make the butterfly red if you want a red brush. The color is determined when you use the brush. If you use black and you use the color red, you will get 100% red, but check this out. If you make the brush 50% gray, every time you use a color, the color will be 50%. Use shades of gray or black to make the brush. Pick up your rectangular marquee tool and draw a selection around the brush. Doesn't have to be really tight, but just get everything you want as part of the brush. Turn off the background. If you leave the background on, the brush is going to have a white border going around it. We just want the butterfly. So make sure you've got that turned off. Go up to the word Edit on the pull-down menu and go down to Define Brush Preset. Give it a name. Butterfly makes sense to me. You will notice it might look a bit different here. That's only because it's constrained to fit inside this box. It will be fine and look like that when you use it. Click OK. Now we actually don't need this one anymore, so you can press the Delete key and get rid of it. How do we use it? Well, we have our brush tool selected first. We'll come over here and click this button right there. We come over into our brush presets and we scroll down. It will typically be at the bottom. It doesn't know what we want to do with it yet. If we select it, of course, we can choose a different color. But if we select it and begin moving with it, we're getting a whole bunch of butterflies all pasted on top of each other. And that's not what I want to do with this butterfly. So I'm going to press undo. With that brush selected, come over here and click this button here, Brush Controls. This stuff here you can have fun with. For example, let's start with scattering. We'll come back to dynamics. Start with scattering. Click that button. Scattering, scatter both axes. At least that's what we're going to do for this demo. And watch what happens when I begin moving it. They begin flying apart. So if I use it now, I'm still getting all black, but at least they're starting to move apart a little bit. So we're like that. I'll press undo. We have a count and a count jitter. Now count will increase the butterflies into a massive swarm like in a science fiction movie. And jitter, actually, think of jitter like random. As you begin moving your brush, you'll have more in one area, less in another. It kind of clumps and unclumps. That's what jittering is. We'll leave count jitter at about 22%. Let's go back to shape dynamics, because now we can see the butterflies. We have a size jitter. In other words, different size butterflies as you draw, like that one too. We have one called minimum diameter. Now, the more you drag this to the right, the smaller and larger they're going to get. Angle? Well, butterflies travel all over the place, so we can kind of like have them going all over. Roundness is how round the shapes are based on the one that we drew. And then you've got a minimum roundness here, basically to even control that more. In other words, do more wonky stuff. You can flip it on the X or flip it on the Y if you want to for jitter. In other words, putting them at opposite X and Y, flipping them vertically, flipping them horizontally. Texture, if you want to. You can add a texture to them. We won't do that one. Dual brush actually functions as the second brush as a mask on top of the first one. It's not exactly what some people thought. They thought, whoa, I get butterflies and I get maple leaves. No, the maple leaf is the mask against the butterfly. In this case, we don't want to do that one either. This is where we're going to have fun. Color dynamics. So let's go into color dynamics and actually let's do this. Let's choose the color red for our foreground color. Now I'm going to hold down the control key, Command on a Mac, and choose another color. That'll make my background change. In color dynamics, we have foreground to background jitter, which right now everything's at 0. So if I come over here and move, I'm just getting red butterflies. If I tell the computer to jitter random between foreground and background and start doing this again, now I'm getting different colored butterflies. Remember, hue, saturation, and brightness are the elements of color in what we see on the screen. The color, the saturation of the color, its purity, and how bright it is. If we go hue, and we just kind of pull these out here, and purity is, again, the purity of the colors based on the first two that we have, the red and the cyan. We can move that around a little bit too. And then we come over here and we begin drawing again, and we get something completely different. Nice little butterflies flying all over our screen. Understand that if you use a drawing tablet, you're going to get a completely different look. I'm using very light pressure with my drawing tablet. Now, if I hold down harder, I'm getting more opacity. And if I hold down very hard, I'm getting complete. We use that technique, obviously, in painting to create a depth of field. But we've created our own brush, which really wasn't that hard. What makes the brush come to life are these options that you see here. So you want to really play around with these things and get exactly what you want. And items like this would be great for maybe making a really cool background.